Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Smith with a high fly ball to left field, way back there, and it is gone. We told you Lance Lynn has given up the gopher ball this year. That was his 17th home run he has served up. For Will Smith, his 10th home run of the year.
That has got to be an error on Seeger.
Here's the pitch, and this is a fly ball that's hit well out into right field, out by the wall, and that ball is out of here. That is a home run by Renfroe. A 2-run shot right there, and the Angels now have a 4-3 lead.
And real cracks one in the air. Deep left field. Get out the tape measure, long gone. All the way to Waveland Avenue.
The 1-1, a blast to left field. Back it goes. Deep it goes. Twins win. Twins win. The Minnesota Twins win it. Carlos Correa off the ribbon board in left field.
Now it's in the neutral zone. Panthers carry it back in. An errant drop pass down there the head. 2-on-1. Stone with Stevenson. Stone stops, shoots. He scores. The double fist pump. The high five with White Cloud. The embrace with Stevenson. Short-handed goal. The captain, Mark Stone.
A devotion to destiny. Misfits to champions. The Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup in 2023.
It's that time again. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. DB, Andrew Rogers, good morning. Hey, good morning.
Is that what good morning meant?
I think so, and then in Japanese.
Is that what it, did we decide that that's what that was?
Oh, that was for sure the Japanese broadcast.
Oh, I'm afraid to say the wrong thing.
I'm not.
Well,
I'll be wrong.
Well, with me, even when you're right, you know, people hear with like one ear closed. So
Well, that's not just in this circumstance. That's in every circumstance in life.
That was actual audio from the game last night.
It was not.
It was from the first period, about 5 minutes in.
After the Golden
I didn't know
Knights.
they had some broadcasters in from Japan, Shane, just to call the game for their people back home.
Yeah,
Big Knights fans.
Mark
in
Stone
Tokyo.
has a huge throng of fans in Japan.
Yeah, in Tokyo.
Is that Japanese for Mark Stone?
I think so.
Yeah, well,
that's when he got the hat trick.
What a snoozer, boy. These finals in these sports were like...
Well, and we talked about, too, how, 2 Florida teams in. This is incredible. Like, and then we talked a little bit about their college prowess this year.
This is incredible.
And all of a sudden, I think both teams lost in 5.
Yeah, no bueno. No bueno.
Not too good. Now, I will say this, though, because
it's not good when in hockey in the finals they score more goals than the point differential in the NBA final game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nina Ross. That is, we're not here, but man.
Finding Nemo?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You remind me more of Dory because you can't remember.
They couldn't find anything last night. Panthers.
It's this way. Follow me.
Or can't remember on delay. I know what I was gonna say.
He also drives Dory.
You're like, what? You're like, yeah, what, Dory? But once they made it official about Kachuk, and I asked a couple days ago, you're like, oh yeah, I think he'll be all right. Now I think Kachuk's hurt.
Mm-hmm. He would have played if he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, and that I don't know, just
he kind of beat himself up though because he had to.
You made it seem like he's just throwing himself into like
that's what he was doing. And I'm the biggest Matthew Kachuk fan out there. Anybody that wants to, argue me on that, like, no, I am. I bet on this dude all the time, and he always cashes for me.
Yeah.
Matthew Kachuk and I are boys. He may not know that, but we are.
You guys deep down kindred spirits?
We are. So me watching his game and seeing how it just started to become slower. I could see the frustration.
He's a little reckless.
the act of him being reckless on the ice. That's a good way to put it. He wanted to be involved in every play, which he needed to be for the Panthers to be successful. He had to be the guy that scored. He had to be the guy that poke checked. He had to be the guy that, got guys off the puck. That's just what he had to do in order for the Panthers to be successful. And knowing that caught up to him, that hockey is such a physically tiring sport. He would have played if he was okay. He would have played if he was 50%.
Yeah.
He wouldn't want to miss this game. But the Panthers made the executive decision in saying, well, if we win this game, now we're only down 3-2. And if you bring him back at home, they win 3-3, you give him a little extra life. Watching that game last night, though, Florida just wasn't going to do it, even if Tkachuk was on the ice.
Yeah.
They just didn't have it.
You talked about early
It's
in that series
demanding.
about hanging Bob out to dry. Boy, he was
Again last night. How about on the shorthanded goal to kick things off? Mark Stone sits in front of the net for about 4 seconds before he puts it in.
Oh yeah, it was one of those nights.
Just not a lack of effort. Lack of effort from.
I'm hoping we get
Panthers.
some drama, mean with the CWS at least. Just something exciting. We didn't love we haven't loved any of the matchups so far in terms of our finals in sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's like gotta get something good here in this calendar year. Seriously.
Well, Vegas
Super Bowl was a great matchup, though.
That was a good one. Vegas gets their first in 6 years. They expanded in 2017.
We didn't even love the national championship in basketball.
No, UConn winning. Not too much.
It's kind of a foregone conclusion.
So Vegas had a very favorable expansion agreement when they first joined in 2017. And I am
protected, unprotected, the draft. Yeah.
I'm probably more on the side of where I think the league went wrong versus hey, Vegas is so great. And they are great and superior because they showed that when they first got into the league. But I also think they got lucky a little bit for this reason. I think that expansion draft caught GMs flat-footed because it hadn't happened since 2000, and the strategy of existing teams wasn't within active GM's wheelhouses at the time.
Yeah, I remember me being traumatized right away when I didn't really understand how they were going to do it, and the Pens didn't protect Fleury.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, not the flower.
And good on the Knights to go grab him, right? But I think they all learned from that moment and retained that information
from this moment
when Seattle expanded in 2021. Because you look at the difference in those teams, and Seattle is significantly worse than the Knights were.
And still pretty good, though.
But still good.
Yeah.
Now, here's where Knights fans get a little
chippy.
No, I think their underwear is in a wad down below.
Just kind of in their feels.
They get mad because people constantly say, oh, Vegas had it easy. Well, why are you guys big Kraken fans? Like, what's wrong with us? Well, the thing about that is the Kraken were given a lot of grace because they sucked in year one. If Vegas would have sucked in year one, maybe had a bad year two as well, and then started to come alive, people would have flocked to them more. But because they had the so-called easy road, I'm going to use that in air quotes, easy road, they got to choose the cream of the crop whenever 2017 rolled around.
Was that a Rascal Flatts song?
How about them apples?
Broken Road. But here, the NHL allowed its teams to protect 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie, or 8 skaters and 1 goalie in 2017. Before that, teams were only allowed to protect 9 forwards, 5 defensemen, and a goalie, or 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 2 goalies. Hear what I'm saying there. They are able to protect so much more back in 2000 than they were in 2017, which gave a lot of leeway for the Knights to pick and choose the best players available, which is why they made the Stanley Cup Finals so early. Was it year one that they made it?
Yeah.
In year one. So it just seems so easy for them from the start. Now, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Financially, when they expanded, I believe like the difference in money to the league was like $420 million or something like that. Maybe it was $520 million from when it used to be and where it is now. Yes, inflation, things rise up. But when you're paying that type of money, the league needs you to be good.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference.
And you're in Vegas.
They wanted a return, and it was that franchise market.
The market says everything. So for all the Vegas fans out there, congratulations.
I certainly don't look at this.
I'm not taking anything away.
But
I'm just kind of breaking things down on, hey, this is why people still feel uneasy about you.
Yeah, they're operating in a good space.
I don't know. You got to give them a little bit of leeway.
No,
you don't want them to be
a fantastic franchise. I'm not. I think
you don't want them to be Tampa Bay.
A couple of things can be
in
true
the
at
NFL.
once. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. But I think with those expansion teams in the NFL, they learned a ton, right? Because Carolina and Jacksonville, Carolina had early success too. I think they lose to Dallas in 95 or 96 in the NFC Championship. Jacksonville in 96 has the improbable run that I think they beat Denver in the AFC Championship. Natrone Means Business and James Little Man Stewart went to Mile High and beat Elway and that bunch in 96. But you're right. Those early teams coming in under the merger, Tampa Bay, those teams. But the business of sports is so much different now. Like these teams don't want to come to these markets without a certain amount of fiscal commitment. I think that's one of the things that's made the Oakland A's thing so difficult, which
sell the team.
By what they end up with, they got $30K yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
Did they get $30K?
If you look at that, the Coliseum, if you look at the A's numbers yesterday, it looked like as if they were in a wild card playoff game.
And you realize they won.
2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know who the A's were playing, right?
The Rays.
Yeah. Do you know where the Rays rank in regards to MLB standings?
Tops in the league.
Yeah, that's correct.
Somebody didn't tell the Rays that they weren't supposed to be doing this.
It was so loud in there. When I say so loud, 30,000 so loud.
It's all
they had to check the pitch comm in the pitcher's ear to make sure that it was still working. He couldn't hear.
A whopping 19 and what?
40.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right around there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 19 and 50. Wait a minute. How have they played that many games already?
Well, you start in late March.
Can you believe that we're halfway through June? I mean, the Rays at 70, they're 48 and 22. This thing has blown by. Probably because I keep paying attention to the Diamondbacks continuing to. They finally lost yesterday, but man.
Yeah, the Cardinals finally lost yesterday too.
Are you all out?
So bad.
Has panic set in?
Panic? No. Disappointment? Yes. So panic would have set in if they didn't have that little winning stretch in the back end of May. But we're getting to the point to where the Cardinals really need to assess if Ollie Marmol is the guy. You have to really take a hard look at that.
8.5 out before the middle of June is not. It's not like, oh my gosh.
Well, are you saying not, oh my gosh, like it's the end of the world? Or well, it's funny that you say that because why should we make that the barometer of success here? Because they only have 27 wins. Is it because the Central has 34 wins that we give them a little bit of grace?
Yeah, because I think you have to take a look at that.
I don't know.
No, I'm serious.
I don't know.
Oh,
I can't do that.
1,000%.
I look at the rest of the teams in Major League Baseball.
What do we do in football, right? What's it take to win the division? We did it with the NFC East for about 6 years in a row, right? Oh man, what's it take to win the East? Who's the who's on top in the division. Like we do it all the time. Well, at Nebraska, hey, how does the quarterback situation of these 5 other schools
Doesn't make it right though, DB. Even though we do it, doesn't make it right.
The shaky quarterback situation of these 5 other schools has got to make this a gettable division. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we almost never worry about what the team themselves bring to the table when we do all this prognosticating.
So you think because they're only 8
it's a bad division, yeah.
We should look at Ollie and say, you're
No.
okay right now?
No, so you always have to look at it relative to what you're capable of.
Okay, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, but I say you're only 8.5 back, not to validate Marmol, but to say
the Cardinals are still in.
Yeah, well within striking distance.
I'm for that. I'm for that point.
Especially given what's at the top.
Right. You win 4 games.
The Pirates or Brewers don't strike me as the type of team that's going to go run away and hide.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, fiscally, you have to weigh your options and then see what's available at the deadline because you're going to have some players.
Cardinals making trades?
Yeah,
no,
they'll be.
They're not a team that makes trades mid-season.
They'll be sellers, or stay pat.
That's what they do. John Mozeliak.
Oh, stop! That's a well-run franchise. It has been for years.
They get lucky a lot.
Oh man, they give you a chance to win more than not.
Yeah, thanks to the NL Central.
Fudge.
Having a chance to win. Yes,
you sound like an ingrate.
I sound like a fan of the team. That's what I sound like. Somebody that watches this team too often.
Get up, baby.
Thank you, John Rooney.
Exactly. Get up, baby. Exactly.
We are talking to Brian Christopherson at 8:00 today. Did I get that right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. My head's all over the place, man. My back hurts. I played softball last night. I need to stretch more. It's
usually a good indicator. Just saying.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, I know it, right?
Kevin Sjuts at 8:30. We are talking to John Rathous at 9:00. We'll talk some golf, the U.S. Open, maybe a little bit of the Live PGA Alliance.
How about the locale at the course, man?
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be interesting. I was looking at the layout. Was it last night before last? You got 2 par 3s over 270.
Do you think you could drive the green?
No.
I bet you could.
Do I have to hit it straight?
To get it on the green? Yes.
Then the answer is no. No,
actually, you could hit it into the trees.
I probably couldn't catch one and hit it
Wrong
that
green.
far. I'm saying I have to hit it straight.
Are they downhill?
I'm sure there's a certain amount of elevation, but man,
there's always elevation when.
My man Colin Meyer yesterday with one of the great answers in the presser, where they asked him about Live. He's like, "Hey man, I don't know anything. I just want to talk about my foundation for kids as we're out here playing on a public course. Give kids the opportunity to play golf that otherwise wouldn't get to play." I was like, "All right then, Colin."
That's cool. I love when people respond with an answer to the question that has nothing to do with the question.
Yeah. On another note, hey, glad you gave me the opportunity to talk about. But yeah, so I just want to know because I know open courses are supposed to be tough. Go check that layout out. There's some monsters.
It won't be easy. And something I'm interested in asking John is this course, and maybe you can butt in here too. Do you think
I doubt it.
Is it meant for ball striking, bashing, or short game specializing
listen,
more?
You better be able to hit it straight. You see some of those fairways?
Oh, yeah. You better be able to hit it straight. So ball striking could mean everything. Versus, hey, let me just mash it. Because
literally looked like those aerial views.
But there's some open fairways too.
Yeah, it looked like a couple looked like hitting it down a hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt like it was the infield on a racetrack, right? Just like this little strip of green and everything else around it. I'm like,
that's how I feel like I hit every single time. Even if the course is wide open, no trees, I'm like, oh shoot, this is the narrowest fairway I've ever played.
I saw a guy that I'd known for a long, long time at the DMV, and somehow we got to talking about golf, and he's a little older than me, and he was talking about all the courses that he'd played on. And I think he said just in the Midwest, like he kept saying the area, around here in the Midwest. He said, I've had to have played over 150 courses. I'm like, you played on 150 different tracks? Now, granted, he's at least 15 years older than me, which puts him in his low 60s. But, dude, that's a big number. I mean,
that's huge too, especially if you're not retired.
That has to be your hobby. Well, I think he's kind of a pastor. I think that's his profession still.
So he just doesn't golf on Sunday.
So it's like, but just think about that for a second. Can you imagine playing that much golf and not being a professional?
It's funny that you say that. My brother used to play. He had a morning job like us.
Yeah.
Get off at about.
Did he have to be responsible for anything later on in the day?
Nope. So I think he worked.
This job seems never ending.
I think he went from 4 to 12 or 5 to 1, something like that. And he would always golf after work. I think he golfed 3 times a week for about 1 year.
Really?
Okay. So if we can do math here, right? That's about 150 times you're playing golf, if not more. So he played the same courses. It wasn't like he was playing different courses, but that was like his thing.
Yeah.
So knowing what you just said, if there's like a schedule that works.
Now,
like
BC likes to golf. How many different tracks do you think Brian Christopherson has played golf on?
Different. How old is BC?
BC is a little younger than me. I would guess low 40s. He's probably 41, 2, maybe. No, maybe 40.
That's
I don't know.
interesting.
I don't know if he played golf in high school. I don't know if like if it was a hobby or if he played on a team. So I'm gonna say
I don't think he golfed at North.
Okay, well that helps me. I'm gonna say he started in college, recreationally.
Let's put the different tracks he's played at. Shane, how about 31 and a half?
Okay. I'll take the over.
That's still a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot too.
You're looking at traveling. I mean, that guy that probably did the 150, that was probably his travel.
So, and it was funny. We were talking about all the different nuances in driving, and he'd say, when I did this camp in Missouri, or when I was down in Fayetteville, or when I was down in, so he'd been, and this was just like in the last 6 years. He's like, yeah, I remember the speed limit change, I was in Colorado and there was this stretch of road and it went, and I'm just like, that's like the 6th different place that he said that he's been in the last
20 minutes.
No, dead serious.
Right.
So, because in my head, I'm listening, but I'm constantly thinking about what he had just said previously with the number of tracks that he had played on. Well, let's go 31 in the hook for BC.
I'll take the over. I still think it's a little high, but I'm going to take the over.
He just played 3 different ones this year. He will have played 3.
But I think about how many different courses I've played, and I don't think I've played.
Yeah, that number's
32.
That number's probably a little low. I should have made it his age.
I probably played about 45 at least. But that's because I played golf in high school on the team. So you traveled around. You went to 10, 15 different places each year.
Oh, but see, I probably have played just collectively in Sioux City and St. Louis 25 courses.
Different?
Yeah.
I'm not.
So
I need to be like those
30.
I probably have played about.
Let's say 50.
30.
Let's go 50.
All right, I'd take the under on that. If we set it around what'd you say his age was? 42, you guess?
Well, 40s, I'm guessing.
Okay, we'll say 42 and a half. That's, I think, a good guess.
Seems like a lot. Do you want to get the Kindle on this end or the back end?
We'll go on the back end because we just ran out of time.
Oh, I heard the music.
Hey, we are talking to Omaha Whiskey Fest at 9:45. We also, DB, we talked about how I like games. We have a new game that we'll be playing today, courtesy of Dingman's. It's all up to you.
Is it Camp Offers? Is it called Camp Offers?
Nope, it's called the Lullaby Game.
Oh, Nighty Night. There's a line in New Jack City.
So what that game entails is you'll hear 15 seconds of a song, but it's a lullaby. And now this could be a popular pop song. This could be an old favorite. It could be anything, but it's the lullaby version of the song. We're going to have the people guess how many you get right. We'll do that later in the show. Stay tuned.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Petrangelo, forward pass, connects with Stevenson, charges into the zone, drop back for Howden, extra pass, Stone shooting, he scores! 2 goals for Stone, 5-1 Knights. A 4-goal lead in Game 5. 3 goals here in the second period, the best period of the postseason.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Ken, no, mini golf does not count. I know you played over 100 mini golf courses, but that does not count. I'm sorry to say. We are looking for legitimate 18-hole courses to reach that number, and only time will tell if BC hits the over 42.5.
I guess if something is truly your hobby, you probably spend a fair amount of time doing it. I just can't imagine.
But sometimes I don't try things that are new. Like, I wouldn't say like, oh, well, let me go try this new course. A lot of times I'm like, okay, well, if I am going to make it my hobby, maybe I become a member at a certain place and I'll just go there every time.
I bet you Chase played a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, he's into golfing quite a bit. I'm just curious. Seems like a lot.
Watch it be like 16.
No.
Just watch it though. Like BC's like, yeah,
Didn't
I don't normally golf.
Just this summer or spring alone, he took 2 golf trips.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. 150. But I guess if that's what you do, that's what you do.
Did you ask him if he ever went back to any of those?
Mike, no. Shane, I mean, how is that my follow-up question? I'm just listening.
Hey, DB, how do you not know that answer?
I'm just trying to get out of there. You know what I mean? I wasn't even trying to make small talk at all. It just got caught up. And he's like, yeah, I remember we were planning some event together and you had this, like, you had a kid. He's strapped kind of in the car seat. And I was like, oh, you had him in the golf cart. And I was like, he's going to lose that kid. And I was like, yeah, that was Caleb. That was 05. We were at Quarry Oaks. I remember.
Do you have him in a car seat?
Yeah, on the golf cart.
That's awesome.
Well, we put on a golf event.
Well, I didn't know if you just threw him in the basket in the back or what.
No, he was like 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't throw him in the basket.
Yeah, or maybe less. And why I had him there, I don't know. Probably.
How'd you get the car seat in? Like bungee cords?
No, he was just you know, you have the little big the little big strap. Sometimes people use it for their clubs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I put him like it was like a grocery basket. Just strapped him over like diagonal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why he thought I was gonna lose him.
Yeah, he's probably like, this dude's crazy.
No. Golf cart is one thing I could actually drive.
And park, right?
I can't even believe he remembered that though. Yeah, I haven't been to Quarry Oaks probably since.
Never played.
Oh, it's a beautiful course. Not if you're not good though. Not if you're not good.
I'm mediocre. Could I survive? Probably.
No.
At mediocre?
No.
Geez, you have to be really good.
You're shooting triple digits.
Oh, challenge accepted. I gotta head out there.
It's not far. 30 minutes. Not even from
Oh, that's not bad at all.
18 from here.
Sometimes I drive 45 minutes to go golf.
Yeah.
There was a tournament I played in back in St. Louis, but it was on the Illinois side. Drove an hour and 10 minutes just because it was all inclusive.
So the whole thing got me thinking, like, if I had a hobby, like if I really had one, what would I commit to doing it? And the only thing I can think of that I would remotely get any sort of joy in is playing cards. But I still don't think I wouldn't travel to do it.
Okay. You would have your spot and you would go to that spot.
Yeah. Or, house games or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But shoot, my buddy's just.
Now, if you're taking the casino for a lot of money, though,
he's playing in the WSOP, like the Senior Open. And he's been everywhere. I mean, everywhere. He just took me out to eat a couple weeks ago, and he'd had a tumor removed, and so we were just catching up, and he was getting ready to go. But that is his hobby.
I have a buddy from college that did the same thing. Probably makes about $10,000 a week.
Yeah, I don't want to get into his pockets, but they're deep.
Yeah,
but some of it isn't from cards though. Like he sold his business about 20 years ago. He had an irrigation business, like underground sprinkler, and he had an immaculate home out in Bennington that he sold, and he does
well for himself.
Yeah, he's wise.
My
wise.
cousin put himself through college by playing poker.
Yeah, see, I don't want to play it like that, right? The pressure,
Mm-hmm.
Pay the man is money. I don't want to do that, but that's the closest thing I could think of to a hobby, and I don't do it twice a year. I used to do it a lot more. I don't know what I would do that frequently.
My hobby's collecting autographs, as you know.
Yeah, and you do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. But I don't avidly search eBay, and I'm like, I need this guy's autograph. I got to find the best price. Like, if I'm at a charity auction and I see a couple of signed baseballs, I'm like, okay, that's the one I'm going to get tonight. And if I have to pay a little bit more, I have to pay a little bit more. Coach Rule's hobbies right now, it's camp.
Listen, he has no hobbies. He may have to have knee surgery.
If playing cards was your hobby, would you have to Would you do the 150 thing like that guy with the golf? Like go to different places like Atlantic City, Las Vegas?
I mean, maybe like if I didn't have to parent. I mean, who knows what I'd have to do if once my kids get old.
I'm still on this knee surgery thing. That was just like a bomb dropped.
Well, he had I mean, he needed to have it looked at.
Wow.
The same. Remember I was hobbling around?
I remember.
Yeah. He went and got it looked at Monday. I didn't ask him the diagnosis. He didn't want to go, of course. If I could.
Stubborn
kid.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Until we get sick, right?
Right.
I feel so terrible.
Yeah, then you go and
you have a cold. All right. You have a compound fracture in your arm, and you're like, I can drive. Let me do it.
Yeah, I have two hands.
Yeah, get a cold, get a little sick. We're a bear.
Should we go talk to Kendall?
Yeah,
now,
let's
Shane?
see. Let's
go to line one and talk about the fullback camp that took place yesterday. One that we both were looking forward to. Kendall, good morning. What's up, man?
My guys, what is up on a Wednesday?
How are you not like out mowing or something?
I'm sure he is.
I'm sorry, man. I'm telling you, I've been on hold, which is okay. And it's weird because I was one that actually talked golf as well when you were talking about it because I played that in high school.
Hey,
but that's neither here nor there.
All right, real quick, I got to get this out of the way. How did you bump in? Do you remember bumping into some people in Texas at a wedding?
Yeah,
that were from here. I think they were. I think they were Andrew's neighbors. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
They were so stoked, dude. They were. I've never seen a smile except for on Andrew just to match it. Like his neighbors match his smile, my guy. Like they were like, "Do you know Andrew Rogers?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I know him. He's a cool guy. He's always happy."
No, that ain't true. But
way to hype me up.
They're smiling ear to ear. They
What
love their neighbors.
My man.
Speaking of, hey, traveling's got to be your hobby, man. You're someplace every day, right? Like it's unbelievable.
Damon, get out of that. When you have 4 kids and they all play sports all year round for all their life, and then all of a sudden now all you got is one, that's a big income increase when you stop paying for those sports.
I can't wait.
Like, you never realize it, man.
I can't wait.
And the hustle hasn't stopped. It's just like gotten even harder. Like you're still working the same.
Shoot.
But yes, that day will come.
I'm doing the math in my head.
You're like, I could
do the math.
Really put aside this amount of money.
3 girls in dance. Let me tell you, 3 girls in dance.
Yeah.
Dude, that's $5,000, $5,000-6,000 easily.
Yeah,
and both of my sisters danced.
Yeah, I'm not.
So I know my parents.
I'm not saying
struggle.
Not counting sports. That's just dance. They did dance and sports like soccer, basketball, and of course volleyball. And you're like,
keep Zoe at the gym. Keep her away from dance.
Keep her. Yeah.
Hey, you want to go back and work out, Zoe? Let's go.
Let's do some more box jumps.
Hey, what'd you do with Dad today? Oh, we went and lifted.
I had a power clean today. It was weird.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie though. My third daughter, my youngest daughter, she actually did take up powerlifting.
Nice. I've seen some of those on Snapchat. I think I get them all confused because you're like the Snapchat king, but I think I've seen some of those.
It's just crazy the atmosphere. Like when you played and you've been around team sports for so long, and then you go to this atmosphere of powerlifting, you're like, oh, what? It's just people lifting. No, these people are like not just lifting, but they're all going nuts. Oh.
Hey, do you want to call us right back since you didn't get to your Nebraska football camp?
We didn't talk anything with you.
It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, hit us back in 4 minutes.
All right, bye.
All right, buddy. He said, all right, bye.
He's like, yeah, let me talk about what I want to talk about.
Hey, what's your hobby? Sports? I come to think of it, softball used to be a hobby.
No.
And I played it a ton.
Well, we need subs all the time, so I'm still going to text you. You're just not very good, prompt. I have to give you 2 weeks notice.
2 hours.
We'll be back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
And we're back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Mike on Twitter tells us Quarry Oaks is closed for renovations right now.
Yeah, so T-Mac was just saying, too, because they were in the verge of maybe starting this. He goes, worst part of Quarry Oaks is if you're not a good driver of the ball, you have to drive past it and come back because so much of the course and fairway has been roped off.
That's good.
That's awesome.
That's really good.
I love that.
I'm telling you, he's low-key hilarious.
That's what is that tweet? That's tweet of the day right there.
No, yeah, that's T-Mac doing
T-Mac
things.
things.
I sent him this skit last night of black people at the dinner table. We probably laughed together for about 15 minutes because it is so accurate. I wanted to send it to you. I just didn't know if you'd get it. I was like, because I send you stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I don't know if he's gonna think this is as funny as I do, but yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please.
I don't know why it came up on my My TikTok is all screwed up. I'm not happy with it right now.
My Facebook is all screwed up.
So every other TikTok now, I'm not kidding you, it's a movie scene.
Okay. That's not bad though.
Yeah, but I don't know where all my recipes went.
Got to start watching more.
I got to get back on the recipe thing because I could scroll 6, 7 in a row and it'd be some.
Well, when you watch your movie clips or TV show clips, do you watch the whole thing?
Oh, for sure.
So that's why the algorithm's giving you more.
Yeah, I get that.
Because with recipes, like, yeah, you probably watch the whole thing.
And
but
you know what wastes my time?
Don't interest you, you'll just scroll past.
You know what really wastes all my time on there? tell me what the title of the movie is. You ever look at the comment section and it takes people 55 replies to get to what the title of the movie is?
Because
I think people do it on purpose.
Everybody just names something that's not right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you're watching some rom-com.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not.
Oh, I know.
I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I'm kind of hip to the game now.
Yeah, pretty.
I listen to TikTok radio.
That's top 5 favorite movie.
I
of all
listen
time,
to
by the way.
TikTok radio.
IJ?
Yep.
That's my second oldest sister. Tracy's a big Harrison Ford Indiana Jones fan. Pass. I was listening to TikTok radio on the way to Chicago.
There's a TikTok radio?
Yeah.
Speaking of, remember when I told you to listen to that podcast, the Rizzuto Show? Did you ever listen to it?
No.
No. I need you to listen to it so I want to gauge your interest if you
and
have a similar personality to me in that world.
So they did like a top 10. They do it every week of the TikTok songs, which change by the minute. And I'm like, I must be on the wrong TikTok because I never hear it. The only song that I hear is some song. I'll have to play it for you, but I'm sorry. Don't leave me. That song.
I want you.
That's the only song that I ever hear because it's usually in some sappy movie scene like 9/11 or ER.
Or it's just the background of.
So anyway.
I don't know if that's how you get around copyright if you have certain songs like that.
Shane, that's what we need to do so we can incorporate music.
just
we
play,
can incorporate.
I'm sorry, don't leave me.
We can incorporate music now.
We can. And he's like, "This is for the bourbons and the Cadillacs."
He got you really excited. You kind of like jumped out of your seat, like, "Oh, we can have music," and then he goes that far.
Collide. It's a song. What an idiot.
Let's collide with Kendall again, Shane.
Kendall, what's up, buddy?
Kendall, back with us.
Shane, you're
Let's actually talk about the Husker football camp now.
He actually had me hyped.
What's up, fellas?
Shane just being a goofball. What's up with camp, man?
Shane's nuts.
Can you believe he got me kind of like?
Go ahead, Damon.
No, man.
Hey, he's just complaining
mad
about
at Shane. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Don't blame Shane.
Exactly.
No blame Shane.
You mad? What's up, buddy?
None, man. Just went to the fullback camp yesterday, and it was nice to see everything that they kind of put together for the athletes. And and obviously some might go a fullback, running back. It's all the same, but just some of the techniques that they were teaching, some of the things, it really shows that hopefully it's in the future.
How about how they're so organized? They can get like 7 guys through one drill at a time and do multiple drills.
That's exactly right. Like just the attention to detail, the attention to readiness, they had the athletes go out, learn something, come back, sit down, watch something, and talk a little bit about what's next instead of just, hey, let's all stand in a circle and everybody watch us, and then the coaches are waiting to set up. No, while one coach is talking, obviously the running back coach, EJ, he's talking to them. The other coaches and the assistants are setting up.
Yep.
And also just watching the players also like listen to their verbal mentoring.
So
they never skip a beat. They're always engaged, and it never seems like they're waiting around.
So that's the thing. That
no,
they run their camps like they run their practice. Practice is the exact same way as Here's the other thing, Kendall. So I got 2 buddies. One's at Lewis Central, and another guy I don't want to give away has been on the camp circuit all summer. And this isn't to compare and contrast just Nebraska, but they've probably been to 8 or 9 camps and went to Nebraska's 2 years ago. And I remember when he came from Nebraska's 2 years ago, he's like, gosh, this thing was not very organized. We didn't do this. We didn't see this guy, whatever, right? So he was pitting it against other camps that he had been to around the region. He said this last 2 weeks of camp at Nebraska was the most organized camps that he has ever been to. From an organization standpoint.
I felt like it was so smooth running for the kids that like I could tell you they weren't, no matter how much prepping you thought you might have done before a camp, warming up, working out. And obviously some of these kids went from football practice in the morning with their teams and then went out to these camps. Like, they're dead wore out by the end.
Mm.
Like, they're not there to hang out. There's no real hanging out time. There's no real relaxed time. It's go, go, go. But you see it in a circuit that's working. And then they're also pulling kids off to the side slowly, like whether it's an assistant, one of the players, and they're trying to teach at the time of the mistake instead of letting just the mistakes roll and keep rolling. And you see the same over and over.
Yeah, they really like my guy from Lewis Central, Owen Thomas. They pulled him to the side and had him doing a bunch of side drills too. So you're right. They do. They do. There is attention to detail. I kind of like that.
And of course, my thing for you guys obviously was just what's your thoughts of an actual fullback camp? And to me, it was eye opening. It was cool to see the first one. It really showed. Obviously the history of what made Nebraska great, but what could also help them in the future, because I mean, I think they gave a ratio of 12 out of 20 fullbacks made it to the NFL and played a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the ratio's there, it's over 50%.
Yeah, no question.
Those numbers, and obviously you and I, the older generation knew those numbers were there. We obviously never put it pen to paper, because we got rid of the fullback thoughts.
Yeah.
But when you look at where it's rolling back through, you're like, okay, it's starting to make a vision, and you're seeing what Coach Rule wants to implement, and you're starting to feel like, okay, there's a purpose, there's a reason, there's a rhyme.
And we'll get to that, we're going to follow up with BC on that too. Appreciate the call, Kendall. So we'll figure out a couple of things in a hurry. Number one, are these because so many offers are coming out of camp, right? So is this a deal where they just trust their talent evaluation, their eye? Are these guys really that good?
It's funny that you say that.
Are they trying to backfill? I don't think this is a backfill thing, because you're going to have to be able to hold the numbers.
It's just funny you say that, because that's what I thought about when I was scrolling through social media just yesterday. Was, man, every offer is coming out of camp.
Yeah.
Like, you see a new kid and it's like, hey, here's an offer. Okay, here's another offer from a kid that went to camp.
Yep.
And it had me thinking the same thing, because when we talked to Mitch Sherman last week, he had said, like, hey, what Evan Cooper, and like, because they talk about how his eye.
This was down when he was down in Texas, right, when he pulled the 3 or 4
when
DBs
he pulls
to
guys
the side.
Aside, and he's like, all right, I want to see you do drills now. And it kind of goes along with what Kendall was saying there. Like, you get a lot of these coaches that have an eye for something, and they're like, okay, I want to see you do this next thing, or I want to see you do that again, but do it in front of me so I can get a closer look on what you're doing.
Right,
they
because
just trust
because
their
a guy
eye
like
so much.
Because a guy like Cooper Booth from right down the road, who just got offered, unless he's at that camp, he's probably not getting the attention by just watching the huddle film, right? Because it's hard to compare and contrast, but they've done this so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they trust themselves, where it's like, okay, we know exactly what they're seeing. And I think the other thing is and I had one of his family members shoot me a message on Twitter yesterday. I told you about when this guy, Maurice Allen, was on social media. This was back in January or February. He said, hey, he knows I'm a big Ken Clark guy. And he goes, hey, Ken's son, Quinn, is playing in Montana. Take a look at his film. Let me know what you think. So I watched it, and I tweeted back to him. I go, hey, you know what? I'll send this over to the staff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything, right? And sometimes you do, sommes you don't. They're not going to do me any favors,
and
right?
You're not going to be the guy.
And Coach Rule, I'm done. And Coach Rule said, hey, I'll take a look at it. So this whole time, he's continuing to work out, and I've never met Quinn. I'm a huge Ken guy, and I know his sister here. Turns out over this whole process, he's camped twice, been on campus once or twice. They offered him yesterday. That was 6 months, 5 months. They're not offering just to be offering.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do their due diligence, which is why he said what happened with Teddy Rizak wasn't going to happen to him again. Right? Because he said these guys will be camping. You can always tell that there's a method to his madness.
Well, you can also know this too, that especially with Rizak, sometimes time can bite you in the bum.
Yeah.
Because if you wait too long, they may go somewhere else.
Oh, for sure.
Brian Christopherson up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Here is Husker 24/7 senior writer Brian Christopherson.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a circus act.
Brian Christopherson.
Well, I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Brian Christopherson.
I kind of enjoy that.
Here is Brian Christopherson.
Welcome back. We tee off the 8 o'clock hour with Brian Christopherson, as we do every Wednesday here on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club, although BC is always on remote. So we go to him now. in a different location, as Shane tells us, and I'm guessing that's because you passed along those details, BC. Are you somewhere traveling for golf right now?
No. I had to bring my wife into work. She works in downtown Omaha, so I don't think people can see it on the stream, but the Woodman Tower is behind me.
Yeah,
so,
you can see it. That's a fantastic. That is very picturesque, BC. I mean, what's well done. It's
you also look like you have the field goal post going through your head right now.
Yeah, I do. I tried to rearrange it to get some of the downtown in the background just for you guys. So I hope you appreciate that effort.
BC, we pegged your age at right around low 40s. Is that correct?
42.
Okay.
Wow, that's where we sat.
I was almost spot on.
Yep. Okay.
So I was making small talk at the DMV yesterday, and this gentleman who was in his 60s said that he had played golf at over 150 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that number was huge. But then we got to talking about, okay, if this is your hobby, like how much time would you spend doing? So we arrived at a number for you of the different golf courses that you have played golf. We put the number right at your age, 42 and a half. Have you played golf at more or less than 42 and a half tracks?
It's a pretty good number. I would say over. I would say between 50 and 75.
Really? Wow. Already?
Yeah. I mean, when you get out of town, you like to hit up a course, and those start to add up over time. I just played 4 new ones on our trip a couple weeks ago. So you pack that in. We go up to Minnesota as a family once every summer, and there's usually a new course there. Yeah, I'd say 65 tracks. That would be my guess.
That is impressive.
I've put down 65 tracks.
Yeah, you're in the studio. Okay,
yeah, just banging them out.
So Andrew and I were having this talk philosophically, right? Because what have we seen? A ton of offers that have come from camps, right? It's like, I get to see you in person. I'm offering it happen in Texas. It's happening in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, they just want to see you. Are they playing catch up? Is this part of the process? Do they just trust their eval? What's going on with so many of the offers that have come from camps?
I feel like it's a trust of evaluation, and in a couple cases they're pretty interesting where, like Derek Brown Jr. came in here, and that was a guy who they had talked to, and he was just on a mission and to show, like, over those few hours, like, yeah, I should have this. And Tristan Johnson was a big lineman, D lineman down in Texas. And he actually came up here in the spring. He's probably a good example, and talked to Tony White. And they kind of gave him some things like, this is what you're lacking maybe right now. And so he went into the shop for a couple months. And there's a few examples like that of guys who I think sort of had a layout of what they needed to accomplish in front of these coaches. And then they went and did that and earned the offer. So, yeah, they've come from every which place, and it's honestly been hard to keep up with some of them, and I'm sure I couldn't come up with half of the names right now off the top of my head of who they've offered, but it is, I believe, a trust of, like, we'd see this guy for a few hours in person, we've talked to him and done our homework on him a little bit before that behind the scenes, let's go forward with it. And obviously that's just the start of the relationship. Then
you get a Derek Brown Jr., you get a Quinn Clark, who's Ken Clark's son. I mean, not
to be confused with Clark Kent.
It's just like all us old heads are having kids, and they turn out to actually be okay, at least for some. Man, it's just weird how. And I remember I told you this story, BC, how Coach Rule, the whole Rezak thing and going back and forth, and him being late to the party kind of upset him, right? He's like, listen, I hate playing behind the 8 ball. This is not how I'm going to do business. I want to know every kid that's in this state. It's going to start through camping next year. It's going to be different. Whatever, right? And you just get the sense like this is their thing, right? It's not like I gave the analogy on Monday. Some people camp, some people glamp, right? Like they actually camp. They got the burners out. They're doing their own fires. They're braving the elements. Like they're actually camping for personnel.
Yeah, and the reason I answered that first and foremost is that they trust their evaluations. Is some of these guys they're offering, they're not in our database yet. I'm not saying our people in our network don't know about them or aren't aware, but they don't even have a profile yet, and that hasn't been built up. And so my point is, this is a staff that isn't copying other people's homework. They're very much like, I trust my eyes. I know what a good football player looks like. We're going to put him through a lot of different things and see how he responds. Like Quinn Clark's a good example, son of Ken Clark. He's a wide receiver right now. He's 6'5", but he's like 190, 195. He has a frame where he could grow into a tight end. So they worked him a lot and said, what do you got with your tight end movement? But then also they put him at linebacker for a little bit. Like, what can you do if we sort of throw you out of your element? How do you respond? That's not a spot where he'd worked a lot. And, it was pretty interesting to him just how they put him at all these different spaces and kind of tested his mettle. That was his third camp in 3 days. And he responded to it because that, with his dad having played here, obviously that one meant a lot. But it is definitely sticking out that they don't need to see that this guy's rated this or someone over here had this opinion about him. They'll go with what they think.
BC, you talk about not having the information, kind of a good problem to have in a way, because this staff is doing what was thought was being missed when like Rizak went to Notre Dame. Like, oh, you didn't have the details just yet, but because you don't have details for all these youngins, for example, it's kind of a good thing because they're starting this system of, okay, I'm looking ahead to the 2026s. I'm looking ahead to the 2027s, and they're kind of building toward that. But we talk about problems too, and it seemed like the national media took problem with how Nebraska scheduled moving forward. If it weren't camps in the summer being talked about, it's scheduling that gets talked about this summer too. Are you a fan of the way Nebraska went about their scheduling moving forward and going for strength over wins? Or do you understand where other, say, Big Ten West media outlets are coming from when they kind of scold Nebraska for doing what they did?
I'll be honest, Andrew, I haven't seen some of the criticism that's out there, so I don't know everything that's been written about the schedules or said about them. I have no problem with what's on their slate right now. Now, I actually don't have an issue if, like, for instance, next year they're supposed to play Cincinnati. And when you look at, or 25, they're supposed to play Cincinnati. And if you look at that schedule, that's a bear, So if you were the AD who worked something out with Cincy and you're like, you know what, we could maybe rearrange this a bit, kind of give us some build up into a schedule that includes road trips to Ohio State and USC, also has UCLA on it. I would understand that. So I'm not saying to go full. I don't mean this as a shot, but Damon this will be in his wheelhouse. There was the old Bill Snyder scheduling methods of the 90s at Kansas State, and they would play like UMass and some of these schools, and you'd kind of chuckle about who they were up against. But they'd build confidence. They'd be 4-0 going into conference play, and it worked for them pretty well. So I have no problem if that's the formula going forward. But I think right now we're just searching for topics if we're complaining about what's on Nebraska's slate.
If more, and I asked this to Vogues yesterday a little bit, curious to get your thoughts, more hills to climb or more opportunities for success once you do away with divisions?
I like the fact, I'll go this way with it. I like that when the schedule came out, Trev Alberts, I think, set the tone. I wrote this where it was just like, you play in this conference, it's just going to be a dogfight every week, and you got to get used to that, and you got to be a detail-oriented program. And I guess I just appreciate getting away from, let's not be that group around here that sees the schedule and is always searching for, well, they have it a little bit easier over here. Their road is better set than our road, and you're always comparing and all that stuff. I don't think that's good for a program when you sort of get in that mode. I understood a few years back when there were divisions, Bill Moose was annoyed by some of the Big Ten scheduling because there would be years where Nebraska, it felt like, would get the two powerhouses over in the East Division and someone else in the West would get none of them. And so you're looking at, you're saying, hey, this is only a 9-game race to decide who's the champion. And basically the other side might have a game to game and a half advantage right off the bat just by scheduling. I kind of get that. But now that divisions are going out the window, I think that conversation should go out the window. I think we're going to see a 12-team college football playoff where you will occasionally have like 9-3 type squads that make the playoff. And so I think you have to look at it as, let's take on whoever's put in front of us. Let's go. And say you lose to an Ohio State, but you have USC on that same schedule in a couple of years and you go win that game or you upset somebody. I think that's going to mean more than the losses to those teams hurt you, because I think when they get to the playoffs, it's going to be more like, yeah, maybe they're 8-4, 9-3, but look who they beat. They do have this win on their belt. And I think teams like that are getting in the playoffs. So I think you kind of got to embrace that.
Brian Christopherson on with us now, senior writer for Husker 24/7 at Husker247BC on Twitter. BC, I don't know if this is a curious case of the never stop working or the well-managed, maybe a combination of the two. We know these coaches never stop working and always do what is asked of them. Actually, one of Coach Rule's like 3 top rules there. But when talking about players specifically, how much pressure do they carry in order to be one and the same as the coaching staff, mirroring the same expectations while carrying all the extra workload that comes with being a student athlete? And if it's easy, if you answer, well, it's easy to do that, how much credit does the staff get in making it easy for them?
I don't think it's easy to do that. I don't think it's easy to get your if it were easy, everybody would be able to accomplish it. And I think there's only a few programs where that culture really gets set into place the way you want it. But when you do get the players who are sort of the ones who are enforcing things with their peers, and they're like, this is the way we do things around here, and that's the biggest deal of all, because I think that's what especially matters here in these summer months. I mean, obviously there's strength coaches and there's folks around them, but there's going to be those moments where it comes down to, you're going to have those candid conversations with your fellow teammates about what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and be able to hold each other accountable. And you also got to lead with that type of example where someone looks at you and says, that guy can tell me something because I know he's putting in the work. He's earned the right to say that. I know there's sometimes this debate about over time, if kids are less willing to speak up to their peers and sort of be those type of leaders. And maybe that's true. But I think when you can find that comfort in being uncomfortable with your fellow teammates and workouts and all that stuff, I think that's when you got a really good thing going. And I think that's what they're trying to build. And we'll see how it takes. Scott Frost's staff was trying to build that too. They talked about it all the time, peer leadership and stuff, but it's just not always. And there were guys who did it well, but it's not something that I think a high percentage of teams actually end up doing at a very successful level.
Yeah, and it's something, it has to be modeled too, right? Where you have to kind of groom those guys that you think have the ability to do so, and then empower them, and then reinforce it, right? You can't just say it, because you have to see what it looks like and how it's received, so you know how to replicate it, right? It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing for the practical application. Let me ask you this, speaking of accountability and holding people accountable, did you happen to see the to-do list that was floating around for his assistants, Coach Rule's assistants, in the offseason, with their individual work, the one-on-one time, the getting kids out off the field and, having dinner or going to a movie, the practice plans? Is that the great equalizer for you in the autonomy that he would give his staff to do their job, is holding them accountable and knowing exactly what the plans look like ahead of time?
Yeah, I think so. Here's the layout. Here's the general idea of what we're wanting these coaches to do, but I also trust you. And that's why I hired you, that you're the guy who can get that done when it's you in your room. And I just think that's, again, going back to the last answer, that's one part of success. I think that's another part of success is you have coaches like that at every position group where you just have a faith in them that they know what you want, and then they know how to execute what you want at a high level. And yeah, it was interesting. I did see a bit of that, just the amount of details that go into him just thinking about that process. I don't know if every head coach is doing that, but I think that gives insight. And I think this Husker fan is craving that from their head coach, where they feel like this guy, he knows maybe not what's around every corner in his program, but you feel like he's got a good pulse, a good read on the pulse of what's happening. And when you feel like the guy in the captain's chair is in that position, I think it does bring comfort to the fan base.
As something as subtle as, he said, our schedules got a little haywire when we were experiencing COVID. Kids don't know how to utilize downtime. I want to know how your position guys are scheduling their free time. When are you going to play video games? When are you eating? When are you going to class?
When are you hanging out?
When are you hanging out with your girlfriend? Like, you have to know that as a position coach, so you know how people are prioritizing their time. I'm like, I don't know if I would be offended as a player or cool that you did. I just know, like, I felt like that was a nice little snapshot into what I think his personality is, because he's told me from day one, I just don't like to leave things to chance.
Yeah. Well, and I think this, like I said, I think this fan base wants a coach like that. I think they like.
Wasn't that odd though?
I thought it was weird.
BC,
because I don't think I would have shared that information. Like, why do you need to know when I'm playing video games? Because now I look lazy, right?
Well, I think so do you think when he says things like that, he's operating under the premise that he knows you're going to do it? Let's just talk about when and how much.
Yeah, I would guess so. I don't get the sense they're taking that away from the guys, or it's like certain mandates on, only this amount of time. I just feel like it's well, let's make sure we're not just wasting the hours in our day, and then we could all be. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind if someone
he made something like, "Hey, if that's your downtime, knock yourself out."
If he wants to come over and sort of set some guidelines or guardrails for my day, I would take it.
You'd welcome it.
Yeah, I'd probably be a little more successful. You'd probably see some better content. You'd probably, I'd be more efficient. So my surface level reaction to that is bring that on. That's how
I mean that takes some high level trust.
Okay, so say you're binging a show and Matt Rule's coming over and you're wanting to put together a good schedule, but you don't want him to know that, hey, sometimes I'm like
I think he knows you're a human,
but I'm a lazy, POS, and I want potato chips on my chest, and I just want to watch 8 episodes of Lost. Like, maybe I want to do that. But should I tell him I'm reading some type of inspirational book instead, so that he doesn't look at me differently?
The way I look at that, BC, is I think he's looking for balance. Mm-hmm. So if he knows, like, hey, you're spending 3 hours doing this, you're spending 4 hours doing this, how about mixing it? Because I think they're trying to get to know the guys so well. I think he's looking for ways to get inside how you think, not necessarily because he wants to critique it. There'll be some of that naturally, but I just get the sense, again, like,
I go back to when, when he said at an early press conference, they used to be able to take their meals out of the cafeteria. You could get a to-go box, and they stopped doing that because he wanted the guys to sit down at the table and have a conversation with like the 8 or 10 guys that are around the round table with you. And, you get to know them, you know where people are from. And he had a quote that was a great line. It was, what does that mean? Nothing, everything. And I understood exactly where he's going with that. It's one of those things where yes, right now we talk about it and it seems like fringe stuff or like the sort of fluff stuff that's written about in the spring and summer. Like, oh, look at what this guy, he's going to do this and that, and that's going to change everything. And sometimes it doesn't really take hold on a team. But I do think there is something to be said, especially in this generation. And I'm not this era we live in. I'm not talking about generations of like if you're young or older. I'm addicted to my phone a lot. Like I just am looking at that screen all the time. And I have to think that's one of the great perils that you're dealing with as a coach is trying to get those guys off that, get someone like me off of it. And actually, like, here's your brothers here. Let's get to know them through these various activities and do these things together. And it's not all going to be football stuff, but there's a trust that's built up over time and a want to, I think, even do better for the guy next to you when you know his story, when you know where he's from, and you care about that, and you know like how he was raised and like what his parental background was, or if he didn't have it at all, and all that stuff. It matters, like
1,000%.
Yeah, and so I think that stuff is a big deal, and I think that connects to what this video was about too. In a way, it's like sort of like let's set our time to make sure we're not just like a lot of us in this world, or we're just lost staring off and whatever. And you're actually you're getting out and you're doing different things, and you're you're challenging your brain. My brain is challenged all the time. So.
Last thing here before I let you go, the thing that stuck out to me over the course of like, hey, the expectations on the assistants was keeping the parents informed.
Yeah,
because I thought that was moving. Because I say it all the time, and I obviously I'm not a dad, but DB and I don't know, BC, if you have kids, but
I have 2 dogs. Yeah.
Okay, you have 2 dogs. I have a dog, so I guess I am a dog dad. So we have kids, right? And protecting your kids is like the biggest things, and making sure that they're in a good place, not only mentally, but physically. And so, when you heard keep the parents informed, have you heard that before, or is that just a Matt Rule thing?
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I don't know how prevalent that is with coaches and parents. I think the biggest deal is if I were a parent, and I knew that the coach, that this conversation is not really about him, the player, but it's about my son and just like wanting the best for him and like what's going on with his schooling, what's going on in his life. And I mean, these guys are like dads away from home for these guys. And so if you feel like it's a type of coach where they're giving you the feedback on occasion, like, hey, this is where I think so-and-so is at, this is maybe something to think about. That would matter to me. And it would also, I think as a parent, it would build trust, like with the football stuff too, actually, when you get to it. Like, I know this coach cares so much about my son as just a person that I'm also trusting him, like when he makes these decisions about like, playing time, and you get into stuff like that gets people up in arms sometimes.
BC, we appreciate you, man. This is always fun talking to you on a Wednesday. We're actually sad that you're not going to be with us next week.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed my scenery today. And next time it'll be my boring background.
Yeah, thanks for the
fantastic backdrop.
Thanks, guys.
We're talking to Kevin Sjuts when we come back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, 590 ESPN Radio in town. We're live on Twitter, live on YouTube. Hurrdat Sports YouTube page, the Hail Varsity Radio YouTube page. You can catch us after the show on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, DB's favorite things. All four.
Save it. Save it.
I sent him the podcast that I need him to listen to, at least for a little bit, on Spotify. But if you are looking for that podcast to send to your friend out there, make sure to send them Coffee and Cream over anything else. We are back 8:30, 8:29 on the nose, which is our comeback break. And that's where we have Kevin Sjuts on every other week. So we will bring him in now. Kevin Sjuts, sports director at 1011 now in Lincoln, at Kevin Sjuts on Twitter, SJUTS. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Kevin, good morning, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Good.
Just in deep thought, Kevin, you play video games with your boy, right? Or your kids, plural. That's correct?
Yeah, all the time.
How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking? Or at least the one you play video games with?
Well, I can't do one and not the other. So I have a boy that's going to be a freshman in high school, and then a to-be fourth grader who just turned 10 a few weeks ago.
Okay, so I have a question for both you and DB, okay?
It's Kevin's time.
Well, I know, but I kind of want to get like the dual purpose answer here because I want to see if you guys think similarly or not. So, Kevin, say your freshman in 3-ish, 4-ish years is going to be a highly touted recruit, okay? Just for this hypothetical's purpose because DB has one right now. And we've been talking about how Coach Rule has these things that he has his assistants kind of lean on or follow a checklist. I don't know if you saw that put out on social media yesterday, but just kind of like what he wants his assistants to do. And the big thing that stuck out to me was informing the parents, because the parents are always looking out for their child. They know what's best for their child. They worry about their child's well-being. And so the question I want to ask you both is this: how much do you subconsciously influence your child's decisions? Like, really think about that for a moment when I say, when it comes to like recruiting, for example, and knowing what's best for your child, where you think is the best decision for them, but you also don't want to like openly influence their decision on where they want to go. How much do you subconsciously influence your children's decisions?
Fascinating question, and you're making me think way too hard at 8:32 a.m.
It is kind of strange, isn't it, Kevin? Because
no, we can do this though. I would say for the 14-year-old, it's not as much as you would think. I'm gonna at that point in his life, you'll let him make his choices, and you want to support that, and give as much input and guidance as you possibly can. So I don't know if that's influence or just informing. As for my 10-year-old, oh yeah, there's a lot of influencing there. The subconscious comes in because he just doesn't have the life experience to know the best decision. So sometimes we'll make that decision for him. We try to let him make some of his own decisions too. It's that controlled failure piece.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you want to make sure that he's set up for success.
Let me ask you. So this is interesting because it seems like there's some autonomy, right? You're grooming young people to be free thinkers. Would you want to be the parent, Kevin, that is got contact, has open dialogue once your kiddos get to college, or is that the point where you want to see if there are any fruits of your labor, right? Because I'm trying to envision, my assistants Nebraska's assistants keeping me abreast of the situation, and telling me how little Kenny's doing or little Sarah's doing, and I'm like, I don't know at first blush how much I would want to know, but I do get why they're doing it, because the more you let me know that you're involved in my young person's life, the more apt I am to not want to leave you. Right? It's like a preventative measure, right?
Yeah, and you really got to find what's the sweet spot. You clearly don't want to know everything, and you want your child to have the experience they should be having at whatever the age that is.
Right.
But you want to be clued in. So where is that middle ground? And that's why, as you guys relate this to Nebraska football and Coach Rule and his staff, that's why you have to have full confidence and trust in the folks that are around your son or daughter all the time. Yep. And it's not just coaches. It's also when you do those college visits, what's the administration on that campus look like? How involved are those professors, and who are the, what's the teacher-to-student ratio? You have to evaluate all those things, because those are the folks that are going to be having the largest influence on your child if they are away from home.
Interesting. And that's on the heels of the big news this week with Jordy Ball leaving Oklahoma, and just kind of the letter she penned, right? And what she let know was important to her, and what she's yearning for. And it seemed to be all of that was primary ahead of whatever success she was having on the diamond. When you looked at kind of that, how she kind of put it out there, and she wants to come back home, and Nebraska's obviously the odds-on favorite for her to come back to. At any point when you're reading that, did you think to yourself, I remember one time when she was committed to the University of Nebraska? Or was it just one of those deals like, hey, you know what? I get it. This is a different chapter, some different ones. It all makes sense. Like, how did it land immediately to you?
Okay, so I had heard some rumblings.
Possibly
leaving.
Yeah.
Seriously, I was told that about mid-season.
Yep.
And then as I watched Oklahoma do the Oklahoma of this year, and then even at the Women's College World Series, as I was watching that, I was like, there's no way in the world that the most outstanding player of the WCWS is going to leave that situation. That team was amazing. And also the bond that those players seem to have.
Arguably bigger.
Yeah,
than
some of
winning.
their pressers were unbelievable together.
Absolutely, they were. So how would you leave? But there's no place like home, right? Like, so to answer the question, it did seem like that decision was made, if not in April, it was maybe made in March or even before the season. So, yeah, that the way it hit me was, oh my goodness, yeah, those were all true, and the feelings are real. And, you know, mad respect for Jordy Ball, too.
Right.
You know, that is a tough decision. And to know that, you know, now that you think about it retroactively, like, how could she leave the team she was on? Well, it's because she had a group of girls around her that totally supported her and wants what's best for her, whatever that looks like.
That's exactly what we talked about yesterday.
How much of that, how much in your opinion, Kevin, made it easier to land because she was so successful?
Well, I mean, you know, it's hard to repeat, right? Well, now she's going to try to do it for a third time.
Like, are we more understanding because she did everything that she could do for Oklahoma? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. She's freed of, you know, no matter where she goes, even if she went to like a school that's very abstract and, you know, she won't do this, but let's say she just went to the last place team or the lowest team in Division I, you know, she is freed of all pressure. And there is something special about that, to know that she wouldn't carry that weight of trying to win. Again, that might be a piece of it that maybe we'll learn about in the future is, you know, maybe, you know, the fact that this team, the only expectation perhaps for next year with everybody coming back was to win it again. And that's tough. So, you know, kudos for Jordy Ball for making a tough call.
Hey, last thing here, Kevin, before we let you go, Jordan Larson, Rob Childress, maybe Jordy Ball, everything Nebraska football is doing via camp and recruiting. Gold has been struck in Nebraska so far this week, and athletics could even appraise more if Ball ends up there. Is there another summer you remember that compares to the hype of this one?
Not a chance. I feel like there were summers where like it felt like gold was going to be struck, but it didn't happen. Like Bubba Starling, right? When he committed to Nebraska.
Oh, I remember that. Good call.
Like that was like, oh my goodness, this could happen, but it didn't. So I feel like there have been so many times, or they hit a recruit and, you know, then there's an injury or a circumstance in which they're not on the team. So I you know, these are three headlines.
Even Nebraska basketball won the offseason.
Yeah, that's another good one. Great point.
So, you know, this is like a summer's worth of awesomeness if you're a Nebraska fan, and it happened all in consecutive days. This is wild.
Kevin Sjuts, we always appreciate your time. Thanks for thinking in Andrew's deep thoughts this morning at 8:30. I appreciate you. It's nice to have two great people to bounce my thoughts off.
Yeah. Tell them, checks in the mail, Kevin.
Now, boys.
Thanks,
I
Kevin.
have a lot of questions.
Appreciate it.
Hey, when we come back,
we got time.
Let's take a break and play a game with DB. We'll relax before we get back on the sports train with John Rathous. Lullaby Game up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
And we're back, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Okay, we're going to try something new here, something fun. I'm trying to add like a nice, like Salt Bay. Right, I'm giving a little Salt Bay to the Dingman's game. We're moving away from 2 for you today. We're going to try the Lullaby Game because just like a lullaby, you should not fall asleep at the wheel. And if you find yourself in the case of the tired eyes, pull over to the side of the road and take a rest so that your car doesn't end up over at Dingman's. But if it does end up at Dingman's, you will have a very good experience over at Dingman's and the people there. The customer service is off the charts. There's 4 locations. Go check out Dingman's Collision Center if you have a problem with your car. DB, you're a music buff. We know that, right, Shane? Because he sings a lot on the show.
Is this the game I have to write stuff down?
No, not this one.
Oh,
not this one. Okay, we'll try something out, and then if it works for future, I think what we'll do is have people via StreamYard just guess how many DB is going to get right. You know what? If you guess the right number today, if you're on StreamYard and watching, since this is a trial day, if you give the number out of 10 that DB gets correct, I'll make sure that there's a Hail Varsity Club gift card waiting for you at the hostess stand. So if you want to play, feel free to do it, or you can just sit back and enjoy. But DB, do you feel like you're going to know a lot of these songs, or do you think like, I don't really have a lot of faith in myself?
I don't really have a lot of faith.
So if you had to set like a number for you, like what is a goal that you're trying to hit out of 10?
5.
Okay, so 50%. Shane has 10 songs queued up. It's 15 seconds of a lullaby of a literal song. You can either give me... No, you have to give me the name of the song. But if you give me the artist, I'll give you a bonus point.
Okay.
Shane, you ready to go? Okay, play it again for DB.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, go ahead.
I can't remember the name of it, but Falling in Love with
That's correct.
You.
Can't Stop Falling in Love with You. Elvis.
Let's go.
DB, 1 for 1. Okay, I see you. Okay, we have 2 people in. Ken thinks you're getting 7. Nick thinks you're getting 6. So there's some confidence in you.
Okay.
All right, Shane, song number 2.
One in the bag.
Need it again?
Yeah, give it to me one more time, Shano. Wow, this isn't going to be right, but it reminds me of Bigger Picture from Lil Baby.
It is not Bigger Picture, but decent guess. It is 7 Rings. It's Ariana Grande.
Okay. Why I would know Ariana Grande, I have no idea, but
it's just a popular pop song.
The only thing I like Grande would be
your coffee,
my caramel macchiato.
Only from the Beanery.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Shane, song number 3.
God, I know that song.
Who sings it? Think about who sings the song.
I know. One more time, Shane.
Levante?
No, it definitely isn't Levante.
All right, now I got to find the page.
Good job. Good job, Shane.
Well, when are we on number 3?
That was 3.
Mad at myself, but I don't know. But I'll know it once you say it.
That song is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles. You're like, you know.
I know it. Go ahead.
All right, Shane, song number 4.
So that's only 1 out of 3 so far? Mm-hmm. Come on, man. I got to go. Let's go.
You're at Digman's.
Shut up, Shane. Wowzer. I don't know.
Do you want it one more time, or you want it? This Is Me from The Greatest Showman.
Oh my gosh, I would have never got that.
Really?
No.
I feel like that's a Zoe movie.
Nope, she's not. She hasn't seen it. All right, I've got to go
4.
I got to go 4 out of 6 here. 5 out of 6.
All right, you can get this one. Go ahead, Shane. Come on, DB. I have faith. Do it again, Shane.
My close up is watered down. Oh, is that Journey? Oh, Sherry?
Ah, no. No, that's Castle on the Hill, Ed Sheeran.
Dude, you got to get closer to my wheelhouse. Golly. Have you not looked at me lately?
Oh, I have. This is just, there's not a lot of lullabies out there that you can sort of rip, if that makes sense.
All right.
All right, Shane, go ahead.
This game is brutal. I give up.
That one's I Don't Want to Live Forever.
Wowzer.
That's a Swiftie song. I know you're like Aaron Rodgers throwing your hands up to the sky. Wow. Her and Zane.
Wowzer.
No.
You're not even remotely in my wheelhouse.
Hey, don't blame the songs here.
Don't blame Shane.
Shane, let's move on.
These are tough.
Can I guess for you?
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Wow.
That is incorrect.
What is it?
That one's Treat You Better by Shawn Mendes.
I'm not even like knowing these songs like real time. Not even when you tell me.
All right, Shane, we got 3 more. Can we fit them in?
That one sounds really familiar.
Got a guess? Phone a friend? Can I phone a friend? I don't know.
That one's Charlie Puth.
Oh my gosh, Andrew. You're killing me. You're absolutely killing me. As my man Boy said.
You can get these last 2. Easy. These are easy. Come on.
Boy said worst game ever.
That's cool.
I can't remember the name of the song though.
Shane, do it again.
I almost said Joan Osborne, one of us. But that part right there, Shane, play that last part again one more time. I know this. One at all. Give it to me.
Hello.
Fudge.
Adele.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Let's see if we can get 2.
Oh, Drake. Hotline.
Yeah, all right. Hey, we start with a win, we end with a win.
Well, fudge, man. You Ed Sheeran and Charlie Puth.
Man, this is funny. So when you look for because I was like, oh, this could be like a good game, but there was only like 20 songs you could choose from.
Yeah.
So I was limited to it wasn't like I could just type in, hey, DaBaby Rockstar.
Why did you have to go with DaBaby? I'm not Mike Sauter. You know how he loves
he loves DaBaby.
How about that guy pouncing on the fact that there were no number 1 R&B or rap singles in 2023? That's because music is so bad. Too many does and lils.
I'm a big fan of
what
it's like today.
I wonder what passing league he's at today.
2 out of 10.
Yeah, that's not
good.
Great. It's not good. Difficult game though.
Yeah. If I can find something else.
Yeah, I like the challenge. Well, I'm just. I mean, you're not giving me a snowball's chance with like.
Maybe I even give longer time on the song. 15 seconds may be a little too tight. I started with 30, and I'm like, 30 could I won't get to as many songs if we do 30 seconds.
That would be iffy radio. That's a long time to listen.
Yeah. So
we got to get back deep in thought with your question that you want to ask me.
We got to talk to John Rathous first.
Yeah.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Well, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, head down to downtown Omaha for the CWS Opening Day celebration, College World Series kickoff party at Omaha Design Center. It's the outdoor pre-party experience you want to be at with a live DJ and yard game just 2 blocks from the stadium. Reserve your kickoff party tickets for $20 a person. You still can at omahaeventgroup.ticketleap.com. Again, that's omahaeventgroup.ticketleap.com. It will take place Friday at Omaha Design Center off 15th and Cumming Street. 4 p.m. is the start of the party, and that's when the doors open too. So make sure to get your tickets now. Something else happening this weekend is the U.S. Open. And it's kind of a weird vibe, right? Because you get a major, which means here come the live guys, and it's after the Alliance. So we're
not even sure if Monahan's healthy.
How are we feeling? What did he get diagnosed with? Stupidity? I don't know, but it could have been something. Let's talk to John Rathous now, host of Quiet Please on Hurrdat Sports, at Rathous on Twitter, Rathouz. John, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good, John. How are you?
Just dandy.
I'm well. I was looking at Twitter last night. Golf Twitter is always fun, and somebody was kind of, I hope Monahan's okay, but they were making fun of the field list and saying, Monahan's out and Yasser is in the field now.
Wow.
Well, listen, we do hope he's okay, but man, the jokes and memes yesterday were running aplenty. Pleasant distraction or well-timed, let me kind of slide to the rear.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I would say my first instinct was with all that was going on, that's a moment where you hear a lot of guys just have that stress reaction, and
right.
The doctor's like, dude, you got to take a break. So, that's kind of what I'm giving him right now, but it is pretty convenient for him as well that he can just slip to the back and not have to worry about answering any questions. Of course, the U.S. Open helps things this week. That'll be the main focus, I think, once tomorrow rolls around.
John, the past week has felt like a Hollywood script. You had the PGA forming that alliance with LIV. You've had some pretty poor individuals speaking on behalf of the alliance, and they probably would have been better off keeping their mouths shut, to be quite honest. But there's still much confusion about what the future of the game will look like. How do you think things will eventually unfold? Do you think LIV golfers will just be welcomed back instantly and that's that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think my main takeaway, first of all, I thought it was April Fool's Day. I had to check the calendar. And then, it's like my takeaway was like, wow, the PGA Tour just let the wolf in sheep's clothing into the building. I mean, they can't undo that. And that was really shocking to me, just like how far on the other side they were. And then they bring them in now. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, Golf Saudi signs all over the PGA Tour in the coming years. And it might work out well in the end. I think the tour kind of got forced into kind of upping the ante, and then they looked around. They're like, we don't have enough money to support this. Our sponsors aren't quite in, so they needed the money. And Golf Saudi was like, we'll support that. You're going to let us into the biggest product in the world. And I think the live golf experiment, it's uncertain. I think it'll probably die off, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the PGA Tour kind of spin off their own version of it that all the top players are interested in playing in. So I think it's going to be another, chaotic, 6 to 18 months sort of thing until it kind of settles in and they see what they have.
Yeah, this course is kind of getting overshadowed, I think, by the stories surrounding it. It appears to be a difficult course. I saw it was texted to me this morning just to reiterate that 8 under seems to be the score that we're seeing. It seems low. What do you think? If the weather holds, is this a manageable Open?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never been out there. There's a group of caddies who gets to play it every year when we're at Riviera, and I've never gone out there. I kind of regret it now, but it's kind of this place that not many people have seen before. So it's going to be awesome to see on TV this week. I think it's going to be a tough week on the cameramen. There's going to be balls bouncing all over the place. It looks like a really fun golf course. I mean, I wrote down a few adjectives to think about it, like extreme, quirky, fun, strategic, bouncy, unfair. You're going to have to hit your long irons. There's a hole that's going to be 80 yards. There's going to be a par 3 that's 290 yards. So, it's going to be a really fun thing to watch on TV. I think there is birdie opportunities out there, and then there's just a lot of double bogeys lurking. So I think in the end, that single-digit under par is usually a pretty good score. Anytime you get things firm, that's when these guys really get challenged. It sounds like that's what they have right now. So would I be surprised to see even par win? No. Would I be surprised to see someone make it to 10 under? No. So it's going to be somewhere in that range, in my opinion.
It's interesting. You have 574 yards combined in 2 par 3s, right? Those are long. But how about the fairways? A couple of those, it looks like hitting it down a hallway. Like, which in your opinion will be more daunting for the field this week?
Yeah, I think the off the tee is going to be interesting because the fairways are very wide, but they don't play wide, because you've got such an extreme piece of property, especially on the front side, like where it's, a 60-yard wide fairway, but you only have 20 yards to hit it in on the left-hand side. And if you miss that window at all, it's going to roll down into the rough on the right. So, in that sense, you're going to have to really shape your shots off the tee. Guys are going to be laying back with 3-woods and 5-woods a lot more than just hitting driver just because of how firm it is. So it'll be really interesting. I think that component is going to play a huge part in it. I think the par 3s is going to be a big factor. I think early on in the week, they typically don't tip those out just for pace of play reasons. But I would say Saturday and Sunday, you're going to see each of those holes one time at least, playing in that 250 to 280 range. And that's going to be all you want.
John, the Can It Be Done question coming your way. Phil Mickelson is still a U.S. Open win away from a Grand Slam. This will be attempt number 9 for him. But what I think is even crazier is the number of second-place finishes he has here. A whopping 6 times he's come in second place. Has Phil aged out, or will the golf gods send him some love this weekend?
Wow. I will never count Phil out. I have not considered him this week. And, there's a lot of guys that have Cali connections that are in the field this week. I think that's a fun little storyline to monitor. And Phil's one of them. I think he's got the game inside of, 150 yards to hang. It's just going to be with him always as the tee ball goes. And, I think as wide as the fairways are, you'd say, oh, that's perfect for Phil. But then you start thinking about the actual precision that you're going to need off the tee. And I think he's going to find himself struggling. He's gonna have a scorecard that's very colorful, lots of birdies and lots of bogeys and some of those others. So, I mean, I think Phil could still win a U.S. Open. It just doesn't quite feel like the setup for him this week, though. Although I don't have a ton to go on with that, so wouldn't shock me.
Natural fave, Scheffler,
Scotty boy,
something or nothing with the putter talk.
I think there's something there. I mean, his tee to green game's been better than Tiger, which is unbelievable, and you just can't buy a putt. And here he is switching at the last hour. So, I mean, with his odds this week, that's not a fun bet to make. I'd rather go into the teens and the 20s and 30s to make my outright pick. So, I think Scotty, not putting great is a factor. I think that certainly sets up for him to still have a great week because of how good he's playing right now, how much confidence he has everywhere else but the greens. Top 5, top 10, absolutely. To actually put it all together, maybe he's going to have a pressure putt to make on Sunday. It's a tougher ask.
John, only once since 1910 has there been at least a 3-year drought without an American champion in the U.S. Open. Seeing as Rahm and Fitzpatrick are your most recent winners, are you backing history and betting an American this week, or is there an internationally born golfer you like more?
Interesting. Well, there's 2 Americans that I like this week. One that's near the top of the board and one that's a little bit further down that might shock you a little bit. But, I'm pretty high on Xander Schauffele this week. I'm an underdog guy always, and so people be like, oh, yeah, Xander Schauffele, 5 out of 6 top 10s in the U.S. Open. He's probably going to have another top 10 this week. Is he got the nuts to get it all the way done? I don't know. He's going off at 20-1. I like Xander. My long shot American that is playing sneaky good, and if the stars could align, and he's at 50-1 right now, and you're going to say, this guy's not playing good. Go look at his stats. Go look at his results. Ricky in this calendar year, 10 top 20.
Whoa!
He's throwing the ball up. He's striking it great. Butch Harmon's in his corner, said he's going to win this year, and here's another Cali connection. I'm just saying, I wouldn't put the house on it, but if you put $10 down on Ricky Fowler to make 500, that's a nice week's work. I think people would love that story. Hollywood, Ricky getting it done. I think on the international side, Hovland is playing so well right now.
But this is a meaningful tournament. Are you sure you want to
back Ricky
Hovland?
Well, that's
or
what I'm saying.
Hovland,
I just threw you Xander and I just threw you Fowler, who it's a big boy tournament. These guys can't get it done there. So that shows you where my head usually is. I'm a dreamer. I think Hovland has turned the corner. He's in every major these days. He's coming in with tons of confidence.
Comes in a lot of second places too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hovland's showing up. He's ready to do it. I wouldn't be surprised, and still a decent number on him at 18-1. I think Hatton is interesting. He's playing super good right now. And then you've got like Rose and Fleetwood that are always hanging around. But again, those are kind of dreamer picks.
Hey, speaking of Rose, real fast, because you have that Rose-Hovland sort of connection, right? Rose only has one major. Hovland's I feel like I compare those two all the time when I talk golf with DB. I'm like, hey, Rose and Hovland, they're kind of like the same person. But you know what? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut, right? And that's kind of how I think about Hovland. Like, when will his time be for a major? Like, if he's playing the best, it could be now, sure. But is he going to go down in history as somebody that just gets so close but can never get over the hump in a meaningful major tournament?
I don't think so. He's still young. I think he's got such a great attitude for the game. He's trying to get better at a short game. He has gotten better at a short game. He's got a great caddy on the bag. If he doesn't win this week, I wouldn't be surprised to see him to win the Open Championship. He will win a major in the next year. Within the next year's time.
Mark that down, DB.
He's that good. Mark it down. He will get it done. That guy's a gamer. He's a closer.
Good news is there's only 4 of those. So if I put money down, I have a 25% chance.
Quietly, this guy he's 4.5-1 for a top 10 finish. I wrote him in our tournament for the Masters a couple of months ago, and I regretted it. But Denver's on a run, right? The Avs won it last year. The Nuggets this year. Am I crazy for going back to the Wyndham Clark whale?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, West Coast is the best coast, so he's going to be feeling right at home. He's an Oregon college guy. Like, he's the thing with Wyndham that's really great right now is he's always been a great putter. He's always hit the ball a mile, but his irons have never been great. And you go look at his stats right now, and his irons are popping. Like, that's been the reason why he's been so good. And he's been playing well at big-time courses. I mean, he wins at Quail Hollow. That's an elite major championship golf course. So, yeah, I think if the irons weren't popping for him, I'd tell you you're crazy. But at 4.5 to 1 to top 10, like, I'd put a little bit of change on that for sure.
John, last thing before we let you go, because we talked about Scotty being the favorite. I'm sure you've seen this or heard this. Scotty changing his putter after poor green play. And I wanted just to ask, like, upstairs, like how that affects somebody, especially as a golfer. Like when you change something like that, if you know your game is that poor right now on the greens, and upstairs you're finding like yourself a little bit worried, why would he be the odds-on favorite? Like that's kind of my question.
Yeah, I just think there's so much recent history to go on with him with winning. I mean, he's won this calendar year. He's got it done. And he's hitting it tee to green like better than Tiger Woods was in his prime. So it's just, there's so much good stuff to go on there. I think sometimes switching it up can be good for a player. I think also, though, for him, though, you look around and everybody knows, all these guys know that you switched your putter this week, or maybe not all of them, but it's kind of a story. So now all of a sudden it gets you out of your own headspace, which can sometimes not be a good thing. So it'll be interesting to monitor that this week. He might not even, a lot of times these guys will toy around with something Monday through Wednesday or on an off week, and then game time comes around. They just can't do it. They're just like, I'm going back to Old Faithful, even though she hasn't been good to me. I'm gonna ride her like I have before. So we'll see what he rolls out with on Thursday. And before I let you guys go, I know maybe he talked about it, but Alex Shockey teeing it up this week.
Yeah.
Omaha kid, so that'd be fun to watch him playing. His brother played a few years ago. And he's got Kevin Kennedy on the bag, local Omaha South feature.
Yeah, he calls our show. I wouldn't say quite a bit, but a fair amount. I always tell him that's Omaha South's finest over there coaching golf. But terrible at officiating, great at golfing.
Good way to let you go there, John. We appreciate it this morning. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's John Rathous, host of Quiet Please on Hurrdat Sports. Yeah, I know you asked the question about the putter, but what had me thinking about the whole thing was how he could still like be the favorite in media's eyes. Like, do we just give him a bunch of grace?
I mean, it is Scheffler.
Because he's Scheffler.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, well, golf is that game that we talk about all the time, how it can really mess with your, like, you can be a mental midget, right? If something goes wrong and you notice something's going wrong and then you change it, and now all of a sudden we're like, no, he's still good. But it's like, wait, is he good? Because like he's in his own head. That's why he's changing it. So him having the best odds to me, I'm just kind of like, it's the case of the curiosity.
Hopefully it doesn't kill the cat. He'd kill his bag. He might be right though. John? He may go back to the old reliable, right? Because I mean, I'm telling you, I've done it with shoes. I've done it with gloves, face mask. I remember I wanted to go from a 32.27 to like a 32.28 in terms of my ounces for a bat, and at the time when it came down to it, just didn't pull the trigger. Maybe next week. Maybe next week.
See, that's interesting too.
That's just how I just think when it's nut cutting time.
Do you think that's what everyone's going to be like doing when they see him around the greens? Like, oh, does he have his trusty? Does he have his trusty putter? Yeah,
I'm still traumatized over taking Wyndham Clark in our pairings, and my man didn't even make the cut.
Hey, but you like him this week, right?
Yeah. I looked at those for a top 10 finish, and I thought that was kind of high.
People buy in. They're buying into that West Coast thing.
And plus, listen, like I said, he's from Denver originally. Good things are happening to Colorado in this calendar year.
Just screw Colorado and Kroenke.
Hey, for whatever the reason, man, the guy wins.
Talk about, like, this is
how do I screw Kroenke?
I
get it.
This is really the epitome of life's not fair, right? When you have somebody that takes the hometown team away, his hometown team moves him somewhere else, wins a Super Bowl with that team, then goes on to win every single dang championship as an owner with soccer. Didn't he win doesn't he have a lacrosse team?
Yeah.
Yep. With lacrosse, with basketball, with hockey. I'm like, man, Life's not fair.
Highly successful. I don't know
By
what
the
kind of
way,
guy he is. But
we had the question, I don't know, like a month ago about what's the best, and it's probably in one of the games Andrew plays, but what's the best sports town in America? Does Denver roll up there to the top right now? I mean,
well, I don't know.
the
I mean,
Broncos are on
They're
the
definitely the
come.
highest.
The Broncos suck right now.
Well, yeah.
The Rockies are terrible. Avs are good, and the Nuggets are good. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Shane, that was an elevation joke. Come on.
Oh, it went over my head.
Well, they do get high there.
They're on a high right now.
I mean, kinda.
Well, we know Aaron Gordon is running through the streets after winning a title.
Yeah,
Well,
what's
worse?
What's a better town right
Oh,
now?
Here we go. Better question for you.
What?
What's worse, doing what Aaron Gordon did, like in being Aaron Gordon and going out on the streets and doing what he did? Kind of seems off about.
But I told you, I don't think he's all there
Mhm.
either.
Right. Or doing what Baby Gronk's dad's doing right now in the
Yeah, he's-
cringeworthy interviews
It's
and
unbearable.
DMs.
It's unbearable. Unbearable.
Speaking of parents,
He's-
like, you know, and being informed, like an informed parent. I mean, if there's any example of doing it the wrong way,
Yeah.
it's Baby Gronk's
It's
father.
It's unbelievable.
Baby Gronk, would he have less than a percent? Like, if he was really good to go to Nebraska just because of his dad?
Yeah.
Like
Because
less than a percent.
the anti, because you know coach rule like that would be the anti-rule thing. But I'm looking at other tenure. He doesn't even look that good.
No,
I mean, it's not
he's
not
in fourth grade.
not a natural but I'm not saying I've seen like really good kids that age, and while I'll reserve judgment, you can tell like, oh, this guy's going to be, pretty good athlete, right? I saw a ton. Keyshawn Williams, Connor Milliken, Cole Eaton. I've seen a lot of good young natural pass catchers. He wasn't it. He wasn't. He's not it.
He didn't give you Travis Kelce
But do you know what drives me the most?
Gronkowski
You know what
vibes?
drives me the most crazy about that? His dad like tells him what to say
That's
right in front of the interviewers.
Hey,
like,
you're not going to play football or go to school or whatever it was. And he's like, what are you going to do in the meantime since you're not going to be on like a team? I'll just work out. No, you can't say that. No, we got to say this.
Yeah.
We're going to get massages from baddies. Yeah, that's what you should say. You're talking about that to a kid that is
I know it.
10 years old.
I know it.
Are we for real? Are we serious right now?
It's
about you. It's all about you. That tells me everything I need to know about your personality.
Dude, they're
You're
asking
making everything about you, not him.
About Livy Dunn.
You.
I'm like, what are we doing?
Because he's going to prom with her, right?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, she said yes.
So, and we asked Kevin kind of in a roundabout way about how much you'd want to know. But I do get the whole with college coaches and keeping you informed. Because I do think when you're doing those little things, not only does it build goodwill and good rapport with the families, knowing that they have somebody that, people care about and that they're around. If kids and families think that they have it good, they're less apt to want to go someplace else too in crunch time. So it's almost like having sweat equity. So I get it. I just don't know how much I would want to know. That would be the balance. Like, how much would I, hey, Kevin's got, listen, class is going well. I kind of just, how are things? What does that look like?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, does Kevin want his mom to know that, hey, we've had some talks about, Crystal lately. I'm not sure how healthy that relationship is, or, you know what? My man's been eating a lot of cheeseburgers. What else does he like to eat? Like, what does
it's one thing to talk about the report card.
Yeah. What does that look like at that age?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everything good? Hey, just want to let you know, man. I mean, Tim, he's doing well. And your, guardians are like, yeah, okay, cool. What's going on today? How are things? But, but then there are these parents, like I talked to a couple of these guys that have kids on the team, right? That I know their dads. And it's like, something will come out about their kid, and it's like, well, such and such would have never told me that. Glad I could, thank God for social media.
Right.
So then there's that line where
Right,
sometimes
yeah.
you do want to know,
Sure.
right? Hey, I made the 10 or whatever, right? Which, by the way, did you see Hill was on?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Sneaky.
Well, they've invested.
Mm-hmm. They've invested in a lot of these guys.
And if he's good, they'll be better. Mm-hmm. Like, it serves them well for him to pan out.
He just needs a solidified spot. Like,
could go somewhere.
I don't think he needs to be moving around. Like, find his home, stay in your lane. Don't try to do too much with one kid.
And for all the talk we have about the defensive back room and the depth, apparently with guys that they look at and are coming on OVs, maybe they're not as happy with that DB room as we think. Just food for thought.
Okay, so the question going into the break, and it was similar to what I asked our good friend Kevin Sjuts, was, do you ever find yourself subconsciously influencing Caleb's decision? And
I'm sure.
Not that you have to like open up too much about it, but I just kind of wanted to know from like a parental perspective on how you maybe try to like kill some of those thoughts.
Yeah, you can get into that.
Okay, just curious.
Are you?
I have the case of curiosities today.
Yeah, I want to put my guy on the spot
again. I
said
that earlier. I said that with the putter, and now I'm going to say it now, right? Yeah. You love my questions.
I do. Very deep.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Today, June 14th, means you can go to the Storm Chasers game and check out the Columbus Clippers. It's Fantasy Day and Whining Wednesday, a day dedicated to wizards, witches, fairies, prince and princesses, and more. Don't miss a special magic presentation pregame following that. Catch a magic trick by a roaming magician. Are you a big magician guy? You like cards? Like, do you like card tricks?
No.
Nope. So you will not be at the Storm Chasers game tonight.
Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with whether I go or not. No, I'm just not a.
Hey, did you know though, if the Storm Chasers win on Wednesday and you are in attendance until the end of the game, you'll receive a free club ticket or next best ticket based on availability, redeemable for the following Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday home game.
Get you a club ticket.
Pretty cool. Presented by Nebraska Spine Hospital. Check out the Storm Chasers tonight.
Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
Can you get zip line
in the club?
Can you get zip line at a Storm
I don't know,
Chasers
but
game?
they have great choices for libations.
If you can't get zip line there, check out the downtown Omaha tap room when you are out and about during the College World Series. That's where we will find ourselves at least once or twice, I think. Little wink, wink there.
Nudge,
whispers, something like that. Zipline is the place to spend your time if you're looking to be in the scene of the College World Series, but not actually be inside the stadium, inside the Chuck. So check out Zipline there. And then also DB's favorites, Dyer Law, DYER.law. Phone number, you got it memorized.
393-7529.
Dang it, I shouldn't have put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, that's what you do. It's not like you look out.
Sorry.
Right. But it is 393-7529.
Nice. All right.
Gee, many Christmas.
Sorry.
Hey, you'll be perfect. Go.
Are you feeling some personal injury? Do you need to call Dyer.law?
It did hurt my feelings. Can I call?
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I did have the number.
I wouldn't have defeated. I'm sorry. Afterwards.
Listen, what if I wouldn't have gotten it right, though?
I would have been
shocked, chagrined, dismayed.
No, I would have felt even worse. We probably would have lost a partner.
Hey, why'd you put me on the spot? Not to go all Cam Newton. Yeah, tell him, Shane. He put me on the spot. Answered the dinner bell, though.
888-638-4876.
Kind of putting me on the
I know
spot
that
right
number
now.
at least
Yes.
by heart. You
Yes.
can call into the show at any point. All right, DB, I asked you the question. You had some time to think about it during the break. You're scribbling down your thoughts. I see
There's
that.
no thoughts.
It's hieroglyphics. I see it.
These are like mini springs. People say that like Scratch and Doolin do these kinds of weird things. Like they're creative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how creative I am, but I do this all the time. I peel labels off of bottles. It's weird.
That is weird. I don't do that.
What can I say?
I don't really scribble either.
The subconscious thing is tough though, and I was listening to Kevin's answer, and that's awful. I mean, good on him, right? From a parenting standpoint, to allow people to kind of come into their own thought process. Because I probably didn't start that when he was 14.
I know my parents didn't.
So, I mean,
even
but
like 17 or 18. I mean, I
sure
acted out, so that probably led to some of that. But
I think for him, when it comes to recruiting, I mean, he said it best in that the piece that he did with and Inside Nebraska with Steve Merrick. You know, he basically said, I'm like the guards on the bumpers on bowling, right? Like I just make sure he doesn't get in the gutter.
What an analogy.
Yeah, it was like I laughed. I was like, And the scary thing is as I read what he says, we sound a lot alike. So that's kind of weirding me out. But as I said in the deal, like my job for him is just to, he's right though, right? Just guide. Now I'm sure there's lots of things that I do subconsciously that I didn't know were sinking in that actually are sinking in, right? When he talks about, wanting people to be authentic and not wanting to play the recruiting game and, fake interest and fake time and, the offers that he hasn't even tweeted out because he didn't know how sincere they were, when at the time, like just as a microcosm of his personality. So I think for me, the subconscious things that I do try to instill in him is try to surround yourself with people that have your best interest at
So
heart.
it's the advice versus the direction.
Yeah, it's totally what it is. Now there are some things. I mean, there are times you got to save kids from themselves, right? Because they just don't know any better. But he hasn't really been in those situations, where I felt like, not to go all Carl Lewis.
This isn't the spot for you.
Now we've had some back and forths though. I talked to you a couple weeks ago when you opened up this conversation. I said there are times where I want to say, are you sure this is the direction you want to go? Like you realize the ramifications potentially if you play it this way. And sometimes I intimate it, sometimes I say it out loud. Right? Okay, listen, now this is your idea. You say you're not going to do this. You want it to be about this. Have you weighed the consequences if you don't come up 7 or 11? Right? If you're gonna roll the dice and gamble, you better hit. And outside of telling him no, we're not doing that, that's as much of the telling him what to do as I'll do. Because at some point, I want him to see it come to fruition one way or another, especially if it's not going to hurt him physically. Then I'm probably more apt to let it play out. Right? Hey, this school has asked you 3 times to come down. Do you want to go down? Well, why are they telling you and not telling me? I don't know, bud. Did you return, the text? Yes, I did. So then then he draws a line in the sand, right? Don't tell my
Don't
dad.
go tattle.
Tell me.
That's probably what he feels like.
That's exactly what he feels like. Now, was he on the plane? Was he in California? Wherever. Like, I'm sure that there's some circumstances, but that at that point he doesn't want to hear it because he feels like whatever's supposed to happen will happen. So those kinds of things are hard.
So how often do you find yourself swallowing things so that you don't do too much? Like, is that ever a thing, or do you normally just say what's on your mind with him because you guys have that relationship?
I do pretty much say what's on my mind. I felt like it was important for him to be at Nebraska without me. That I felt like
I think
that
so too.
I felt like that was important. A couple schools that called the last couple of days. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna remove myself from this situation. That would be between you and him, right? So those are the things where I want to say, hey, listen, if this is what you really want, then these are the routes you've got to take. But he's got to figure that out. Right now, if I see that he's on a collision course for destruction, then maybe I'll say something. Hey, you may want to reach out or something like that. You know how bad I wanted to tell him not to go to Indianapolis last year and to go to Indiana, but I didn't. I didn't want to let he wants to play. He's in basketball, but I felt like, man, how about the other rivals camp? No, we're in Fayetteville that weekend. Okay, right. So I have to let him make
his own decisions.
So, but those things are hard, right? Those are the things where I go back and I look and I'm like, well, did it hurt him not going? I don't know. I mean, it's however many offers. It's like is 17 better than 12, or is, you know what I mean? So I don't get into the weeds, but I do sometimes second guess myself. Sometimes I think, man, what if I would have been on him a lot more about Nebraska, right? Because he does take Nebraska for granted a little, in the fact that it's so accessible to him. He's been to Lincoln 100 times, right? I mean, he's taking pictures with him. He's imitating Amir Abdullah in his Lions picture, and he's like in the 3rd grade. And I think he thinks it's like that everywhere. It's not. This is a unique relationship to this school.
Right.
Should I have shared that more with you? Right? I don't know. I don't know. Would he look at it in a different light?
So is there regret there?
Regret's probably too strong of a word. Mm-hmm. But believe me, I've thought about it.
Sure.
Multiple.
Gosh, this whole Coach Rule thing is great. Like the amount of information he puts on his assistant coaches. Remember when I said, gosh, it seems like these coaches just never say no. They just do what's asked of them. And then it comes out to be the number one rule that Coach Rule has.
If you want to be there. No, I don't know if you're allowed to say no.
I appreciate you opening up. That's cool.
Yeah.
Omaha Whiskey Fest will be in studio next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back, Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. As we wind this thing down on a Wednesday, Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Happy to be joined by our friends at Omaha Whiskey Fest. We have Zach first up. Zach with Brickway Brewing and Distillery, and then we'll get to Lori in Spirit World here in a moment. I was telling DB off the air today, I got hit pretty hard with the financial bug yesterday. So this whiskey drinking is going to be really nice for the next 15 minutes. Zach, good morning. Thanks for being here today.
Good morning, fellas. Thanks for having both of us.
Yeah. Remind everybody what Omaha Whiskey Fest is.
So Omaha Whiskey Fest is the biggest whiskey festival in Nebraska. We'll have a couple thousand people there this year. It's downtown at the Hilton on October 7th. VIP starts at 1, GA starts at 2, goes until 5. And it's just a blast. We've got food. We've got 65 different whiskey vendors, each with at least 5 different whiskeys to sample. So no one could ever try them all. So you get to go in, be selective. Within the VIP section, each distillery brings a very unique whiskey that is very difficult to get. So getting in that extra hour early is really key.
So $175 is the VIP ticket versus $100 for GA. But you do, as you said, get that extra hour and plus that VIP bottle sampling. Like there's a lot more that comes with the VIP package.
Yeah, and there's just less people in there, so there's no lines. And we're offering 300 VIP total, and 297 are sold. There's only 3 left.
I believe it.
Now we're giving 2 away today. So hopefully somebody out there can win one of them. But there's only 3 VIP left for sale. So if you're looking for those, we definitely got to get one in for you.
I think it's by far and away the most particular beverage. Like people that are in this world swear by it. Like there's just not a lot of gray, yet there's so much versatility within the bourbon world. It's like, how do you balance not doing too much but kind of staying true to the distillery? Excuse me.
Speaking of bourbon, do you want to try a little Brickway double
Let's
barrel
do it.
bourbon?
Let's do it. And meanwhile, let's give the question out today. So if somebody calls in 888-638-4876. Again, 888-638-4876. The question to win the tickets are this, because it's on the heels of Jordy Ball and Oklahoma softball being having the longest winning streak in D1 softball currently. Which school holds the longest winning streak in college football all time? Give us the answer, 888-638-4876. Give us a call. You get 2 VIP tickets, which come out to, let's do math here, Andrew. Carry the 2.
Stop.
350.
Okay, so we have here
This is a Brickway double barrel bourbon.
Double barrel bourbon.
That's the one that I took with me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
we already got a caller calling in. Shane,
Well,
let us know.
So
while I drink up.
So the thing about it is, I was relating it to your business card. I said sturdy, last, it's thick. Same thing that you said about this bourbon on your description. Could be chilled, could be over ice, room temp. Like its versatility withstands the palate.
Not syrupy either.
No,
it goes down smooth,
Super
almost like
drinkable.
water.
Yeah, well, with any spirit we make, it has to be good and to be drink warm and neat. And so that's how you're drinking now. But put it in a cocktail, put some ice in there. However you like to drink it is how you should drink it.
So that's interesting because a lot of times with mixed drinks like an old fashioned or something, I always kind of a little bit of a snob. I'm like, don't dilute good and then fill in the liquor.
Yeah.
You don't mind?
No,
folks?
not at all. I
Yeah.
mean, these are made to, be in great cocktails, whether it's an old fashioned or a Manhattan. Our rye whiskey and a Manhattan is really, truly my favorite drink. It's a lovely whiskey neat, but, in that great cocktail. Love the whiskey.
Let's go to the phone here. Judy thinks she has the answer. Judy, good morning. Do you have the answer to which school holds the longest winning streak in college football?
Is it Oklahoma?
It is Oklahoma.
Hey,
all right. Nice work. So we'll have 2 VIP tickets for.
So excited.
We're excited to give these to you. The 2 VIP tickets will be at. Should we put them at the hostess stand? Kyle,
yeah, Oklahoma Tyler's mad because he had it before Judy. You needed to call Tyler.
That was the rule. Should we have them at the hostess stand here for them to pick up?
I'm sorry, where am I going?
So let's have them at the hostess stand here. Make it easier. So we're at Hail Varsity Club where we do the show every single week. It's right off. It's right by Cabela's.
126th and Harrison.
Yeah, I don't know streets. I'm still so new. Judy, do you know where it is?
I don't, but I'll write it down. I'll come. Can I come up today?
Yeah, Shane.
Absolutely,
We'll put you on hold, and Shane will give you.
I'll take care of her.
Shane will take care of you. Judy, congrats.
Congrats, Judy.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Thank
she
you.
Is pumped. How about that?
See, that's what I like though, like those reactions.
I wonder.
So now that's $2.99.
I think
so. There's only one more ticket.
These are above and beyond. There's still 3 left for sale.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so 3 still left.
God, my buddy's mad at me.
They knew the rules. They heard it on the show.
Yeah,
I said you have to call in.
Oklahoma's in his wheelhouse.
I know. Well, the whole question was Oklahoma has the longest in softball, so football would be funny to add to that.
Yeah.
And nice. Okay, so outside of the actual like tasting and things while you're at Whiskey Fest, for somebody that doesn't like whiskey on the regular. Like, is this still an event for them?
Yeah, I mean, just all the great people you can talk to, the vendors. We have, we'll have at least one speaker there to really learn about whiskey. We have DD tickets available if you want to come and support other people. You still get a meal with that.
That is really cool.
Yeah, the DD tickets are only $25, so you get lunch with that, and you can hang out with everybody and really enjoy the time.
So you're kind of confident because you know your product. People, you sound like one of those guys that says, people that say they don't like it haven't had the right.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah,
I have so much fun.
Because that is how the folks that like whiskey, that's what they'll always tell you. Just have
Omaha Whiskey Fest is all about whiskey education. I hear a lot of people say, I don't like whiskey, but I love bourbon.
Yeah.
Well, sir, I'm sorry, but bourbon is whiskey. So let's sit down and have some tasting and learn about whiskey. That's what Whiskey Fest is all about, is that educational piece. And with whiskeys from literally all over the world, you have that opportunity to try the diversity from a variety of Scotch whiskeys to American whiskeys from all over the country, Japanese whiskeys, Canadian whiskeys. Our leading sponsor is Crown Royal, so there's going to be a lot of Canadian whiskey in.
Have you noticed that a lot of
less
wheelhouse? Have you noticed that a lot of other, like beers and other people have tapped into the bourbon whiskey tasting world? Like the barrel aged IPAs and the beers. It's like it is so popular in the country.
It's growing like crazy. Now you have whiskeys aging in used beer barrels. So I mean, we're at Brickway, we're taking beer and putting it in whiskey barrels, then taking the beer out and putting whiskey back in there. Like, we're going back and forth. We got to use these barrels. Barrels are hard to get. There's going to be a 1 million barrel shortage this year. Oak barrels are so hard to get. So we're having some fun being creative.
Zach,
yeah.
Can we switch? Can we tag?
I'm when I get
to Lori on too.
When I get to learning,
I know.
Remember the whole tree analogy last time they were on with people that separate the difference between whiskey and bourbon. It's like there's this one great big tree, and then everything is.
That's sorry. My cousin Kyle, he was on me about bringing him back some whiskey from Omaha, and I'm like, yeah, I can do that, but then I forgot.
You didn't want to be on the hook.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, we're talking to our whiskey people today. Let me know which ones you want me to bring back. And one on this list is he put anything Elijah Craig. And she comes up here with Elijah Craig. Oh my goodness.
It's almost like I know what people want to drink.
You know what? We're going to have a conversation. Us three after the show. We'll go out there though, because DB's got to do his thing in here. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah,
back to learning.
Yeah. You walk in a store and Browns versus clears, it's so dominant that it's Browns. Even when you go to sports bars or liquor stores, what makes it such a so popular for the palate where your inventory consists of a lot of this?
So I think that for, especially in the Midwest, but I think Americans, the reason that bourbon is so popular, it's sweeter. So you have vodka or gin and they don't have, most of them don't have that sweetness on the finish, but bourbon, because it's aged in the barrel, it gets a lot of vanilla and a lot of caramel and butterscotch flavors. And it's just that warm, sweeter flavor. And Americans like sweet. So
it's a lot more versatility.
Yeah, it gives it versatility for sure. And, to your point, you can put it in a cocktail, you can drink it on ice or neat or however you like it. But I think you can do a lot with it. So, yeah.
It's the price range an advantage because it is wide.
Yes, I definitely agree with that also. In terms of bourbon as opposed to other types of whiskey, bourbon's made in America. So it's just easier and cheaper to get it to us than it is from Scotland or Japan or India or wherever else you're getting whiskey. So that's part of it, but it's also our climate in America, typically where bourbon is being made and aged, it ages faster. And I hate that term. We joke about ages faster. Time is time. So it's not aging faster, but the barrel qualities impart faster in warmer climates and climates that have more temperature swings. And we have that in the US, as opposed to Scotland, for example, where it's pretty much always cold and rainy and kind of the same temperature. So the barrel just doesn't expand and contract as much and give it as much oak character. So you age Scotch a lot longer, which makes it more expensive. So they have to sit on it for longer. So the price fluctuation in bourbon, or the price, the range, you can get really good bourbon anywhere from $20 to $100 or more. But it's honestly, people come in and want to buy a bottle. They're like, I want a really nice bottle. Do you have $150 bottle of bourbon? We're like, not really. No. I mean, you just don't find, maybe,
Interesting.
maybe we happen to have something, but generally bourbon you're going to find is like $70 or cheaper.
So I guess, is it just the age of it then that gives it the price?
Some of it. Yeah, it's how expensive it is to make it, but bourbon's generally, it's made with corn. It's not as, relatively inexpensive grain. It's just not as expensive to make.
Well,
Next time before leading up to this deal, when we have you back, I want to know about how you carry inventory. Because there are some very particular people.
Yeah.
She's like, how long do you have?
Yeah, I know exactly. I was like, you got
because
like an hour.
overhead, right? Like
You're telling me.
I want to know about the art of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, Lori, from Spirit World, we appreciate you. Zach, you too. Check out Omaha Whiskey Fest. We will be back tomorrow.